Namo Narayana, welcome back. Today we are joined by my kitty Fiona, sitting right here. We'll see how long she stays in the frame. And we are in Canto 4, Chapter 21, Instructions by Maharaja Prthu. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, when the king entered his city, it was very beautifully decorated to receive him with pearls, flower garlands, beautiful cloth, and golden gates, and the entire city was perfumed with highly fragrant incense. Fragrant water, distilled from sandalwood and a guru herb, was sprinkled everywhere on the lanes, roads, and small parks throughout the city, and everywhere were decorations of unbroken fruits, flowers, wetted grains, varied minerals, and lamps, all presented as auspicious paraphernalia. At the street crossings were bunches of fruits and flowers, as well as pillars of banana trees and betel nut branches. All these combined decorations everywhere looked very attractive. As the king entered the gate of the city, all the citizens received him with many auspicious articles, like lamps, flowers, and yogurt. The king was also received by many beautiful unmarried girls, whose bodies were bedecked with various ornaments, especially with earrings which collided with one another. When the king entered the palace, conch shells and kettle drums were sounded, priests chanted Vedic mantras, and professional reciters offered different prayers. But in spite of all this ceremony to welcome him, Maharaja Prthu was not the least bit affected. Both the important citizens and common citizens welcomed the king very heartily, and he also bestowed upon them their desired blessings. King Prthu was greater than the greatest soul, and was therefore worshipable by everyone. He performed many glorious activities in ruling over the surface of the world, and was always magnanimous. After achieving such great success and a reputation which spread throughout the universe, he at last obtained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sutta Swami continued his narration. O Shanaka, leader of the great sages, after hearing Maitreya speak about the various activities of King Prthu, the original king, who was fully qualified, glorified, and widely praised all over the world, Vidura, the great devotee, very submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi and asked him the following questions. Vidura asked, My dear Brahmana Maitreya, it is very enlightening to understand that King Prthu was enthroned by the great sages and brahmanas. All the demigods presented him with innumerable gifts, and he also expanded his influence upon personally receiving strength from Lord Vishnu. Thus he greatly developed the earth. Maharaja Prthu was so great in his activities and magnanimous in his method of ruling that all the kings and demigods on the various planets still follow in his footsteps. Who is there who will not try to hear about his glorious activities? I wish to hear more and more about Maharaja Prthu because his activities are so pious and auspicious. Sutta Goswami thus continued the story. The great saintly sage Maitreya told Vidura, My dear Vidura, King Prthu lived in the tract of land between the two great rivers, Ganges and Yamuna. Because he was very opulent, it appeared that he was enjoying his destined fortune in order to diminish the results of his past pious activities. Maharaja Prthu was an unrivaled king, and possessed the scepter for ruling all the 7 islands on the surface of the globe. No one could disobey his irrevocable orders but saintly persons, the Brahmanas, and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnavas. Once upon a time, King Prthu initiated the performance of a very great sacrifice, in which great saintly sages, Brahmanas, demigods from higher planetary systems, and the great saintly kings known as Rajarshis all assembled together. In that great assembly, Maharaja Prthu first of all worshipped all the respectful visitors according to their respected positions. After this he stood up in the midst of the assembly, and it appeared that the full moon had risen among the stars. King Prthu's body was tall and sturdy, and his complexion was fair. His arms were full and broad, and his eyes as bright as the rising sun. His nose was straight, his face very beautiful, and his personality grave. His teeth were set beautifully in his smiling face. The chest of Maharaja Prthu was very broad, his waist very thick, and his abdomen, wrinkled by lines of skin, resembled in construction a leaf of a banyan tree. His navel was coiled and deep, his thighs were of a golden hue, and his instep was arched. The black slick hair on his head was very fine and curly, and his neck, like a conch shell, was decorated with auspicious lines. He wore a valuable dhoti, and there was a nice wrapper on the upper part of his body. As Maharaja Prthu was being initiated to perform the sacrifice, he had to leave aside his valuable dress, and therefore his natural bodily beauty was visible. It was very pleasing to see him put on a black deerskin and wear a ring of kusha grass on his finger, for this increased the natural beauty of his body. It appears that Maharaja Prthu observed all the regulative principles before he performed the sacrifice. Just to encourage the members of that assembly and to enhance their pleasure, King Prthu glanced over them with his eyes that seemed like stars in a sky what would do. He then spoke to them in a great voice. His speech was very beautiful, full of metaphorical language, clearly understandable, and very pleasing to hear. His words were all grave and certain. It appears that when he spoke, he expressed his personal realization of the absolute truth in order to benefit all who were present. We're going to pause here just as the speech begins, just so this video doesn't get very long, because this is a longer chapter. I have nothing really to say on this chapter other than it's setting the scene and we're about to jump into the scene, so sorry to go for a commercial break here. Or in my house, we'll be watching some show on Netflix, and right at that pivotal moment, the screen will freeze and go, "Sorry, cannot play this video." It's just like, we'll be in like, it just happened recently, we were watching Game of Thrones, and we're interrupted twice in the episode. And of course, it's always at that pivotal moment. So I understand, and my apologies, but I do try to keep these videos short. So next time, we'll start right in with his speech, and that will be, if you're following along, verse 21, and we'll finish up the chapter with that. So thank you for watching, and until next time, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And it seems my cat is still here all this time.